Welcome everyone to another episode of Big Band MMA podcast, episode 27. I'm your host, BigSteve. Got our special guest back, SubliminalMMA. We had him on the season final of the Contender Series. It was a good episode. The viewers loved it, so he's back on again. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. Thank you. Quiet weekend for MMA. I think we've only got Cage Warriors and Cage Fury. But yeah, should be good. Hopefully, make some money.
Yeah, we'll find some value. It's even quieter for me, man. I've only got Cage Warriors odds, and I've got EFC, and I always ignore EFC. Everyone says there's no tape, but desperate times call for desperate measures. I'll fucking tape some low level EFC. I'll
Yeah.
look for shit.
Might as well.
Quick little rundown because I always do a recap. We did the season finale of Contender.
Mhm.
Our favorite bet was both Elias. Super annoying because on tape he's super hard to hold down, explosive. He's on the ground for like 2 seconds and then gets back up. And then he just came in hell-bent on pulling guard in this fight. So very, very frustrating when stuff like that happens. I guess you could kind of see that he's a bit of a meathead from tape, but I thought the value was there. Had the under 2.5 in the first fight. Hindsight probably should have been the biggest bet of the card. The over 1.5 in the Jack Jenkins fight. Round 3 in decision that we talked about. That was probably a good bet, but I just didn't want to risk it. Over 1.5 was beautiful odds. Sam Patterson, I had a bit of Sensi, and I had fight starts round 2. Honestly, that was almost minus 200. I thought that was insane value considering Sam starts very slow. And then I live bet Sam at $2.20 in round 2 to get profit either way. And then I was like 400.4 units up. So I was like, you know what? I want to play both submission, but I'm just going to leave it. Call the season on a profit and leave it at that. And then he submitted him, so whatever. But tiny profit again, but I'll take that. Finished the season, I think 3.9 units. Nothing compared to last year when I got like 10. But again, like I said, I say all the time, I'm a lot more conservative this year. So I'm happy with. It's 4 units I wouldn't have got if there wasn't Contender Series. So
Exactly.
happy with that. How did you go?
Yeah, I had the same bets. I had Elias and Sensi. I went a little bit bigger on Elias. I just went full unit on Elias, which probably was a mistake. But it was, I said round 3 Jenkins on the podcast, and then I saw it before the card, and it was 8 plus 850, and I was like, might sprinkle it, and I didn't. So that was annoying. But yeah, that's how it goes. But yeah, it was not a great card to finish it off betting wise, but it was fun to watch.
That's it. Is what it is. We move on. We don't have to worry about it. It won't be on until next year, so we won't need any reminders until then. I'll get it straight into it, mate. First fight of the card: Emmanuel Zaccaria, Bogdan Barbu. By the way, the odds just opened up 10 hours ago, so that's good because otherwise we would have pushed this back one more day. No point doing a betting podcast without odds, so it's perfect timing. It's almost like I knew. I didn't. That's a joke. Emmanuel Zaccaria, obviously, actually, not much fights, but I think essentially all of his fights are on YouTube one way or another. You know, whether it's some grainy footage, etc., or like a full proper fight. He seems to be a jiu-jitsu fighter. I can see on his he's got some ADCC, obviously European trial tape. You know, European trials compared to ADCC, the actual ADCC nowhere near the same level, but that seems to be his game. He doesn't have the worst striking. I mean, I've seen him throw hard in some of his fights. It seems to be long rangey, like really long reach, and seems to crack as well. But he wants to ground you. He wants to ground and pound you or submit you. A lot of cage pushing, so it doesn't seem very explosive. But he does have a good high crutch. You know, he pushes you against the cage for a bit, and once he gets his hands clasped under your crutch, you go for a ride. But then again, low-level opponents, right? The people that he's picked up and slammed, some of them are 6-4, but this is 6-4 on Italian regional scene. So not too impressed. I mean, one of his wins, he got a triangle off his back. Hasn't fought since 2019. Literally 3 years, so you can assume that he's improving. one of his only losses, knockout by Manuel Milito. I actually found that fight, but it was so grainy, I just didn't want to put myself through it. I just turned it off. I don't have time for grainy fights. And then on the other side, Bogdan Barbu. I was taping this, and I kind of hit you up about it. I was like, there was no odds, but I just had this feeling Bogdan was going to be an underdog. And you know, when you have that mental image in your head, underdog, and you're taping it, and then I was like, I don't think this guy should be an underdog. Well, again, I didn't know if it was going to be, but I was just taping and taping. I mean, a lot of experience. I like what I see. He seems like a well-rounded guy. Definitely fought the high level of competition. I mean, the people that he's lost to a few really good KSW champs. Sebastian Przybzy, whatever. I'm going to try and pronounce his name on my KSW podcast. He's the current champ now. He got knocked out in round 1. Pavel Politilo, he's another KSW guy that's almost beaten a few champs. He's come short. Short of winning. So Mikhail Sibu, he got submitted by him, but he also beat him by guillotine in a title fight in a 5-rounder. He's just fought some really good guys. And I mean, that's most of his losses. He has a few sub losses, which is why I thought he was going to be the underdog. And then again, Dan Dude's the guy that was meant to fight on this card as well. He's a really good fighter. I would say much better than Manuel Ricardo. So I like what I see, man. It seems to have one-punch KO power. He's knocked out some bums with one punch, and they weren't like he has a few setup fights, but those knockouts weren't setup fights. They were proper clean knockouts. He put out people cold. He's got in and out striking, switches stances, and then what I've seen from his takedown defense, he seems good and he seems to get up. It's hard to get in on because he's got that in and out. All those people that have good distance management with the in and out striking, you know, unless you time him really well with a reactive double, you can't get on their hips. He's always feinting and you don't know when to shoot. And someone like Emmanuel, he wants to push you against the cage and is a bit plodding and a bit slow. It might be hard, but yeah, for what I'm seeing, even in that in his last fight, he took Dan down straight away in Cage Warriors, Barbu, and survived for about 3 minutes in his guard. Got out of another triangle. So I was surprised he's been submitted that many times. I taped another guy on Eternal MMA, and he's been submitted like 17 out of 17 losses. I thought this was the same case, but I actually, I like what I saw on tape. Like, this guy's not that bad, and if he's a big dog, then I might play him, and he is. He opened up as a bigger dog last night, and now he's a smaller dog. If this stays when my odds open up here in Australia, I'll probably sprinkle him a little bit. But yeah, it just seems like a much more tested, experienced guy with decent takedown defense, decent get-ups, good cardio, good power, one-punch KO power against a guy that hasn't been tested, hasn't fought in 3 years, and he's also been knocked out in his one loss. So kind of feels like a no-brainer to me. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you could see it from a mile away when you were taping it that Bogdan was going to open up as a dog because he's got multiple sub losses, and this Italian dude is obviously a grappler and got multiple sub wins, so you could see he was going to be a dog. But yeah, watching him, I don't think he should be a dog at all. Massive experience edge. I know he's got 13 losses, but he's also, he's got 17 wins. He's got good pressure on the feet. Striking's a bit like unrefined, but he throws pretty hard and he can fight at a high pace for 15 minutes. And obviously, as you say, he got that round 5 finish against that Serbu guy. So cardio is not an issue. Don't really know what the other guy's cardio is like, but obviously there's no tape to tell. But he's the fight IQ of Barbu's a bit questionable. Saw a few red flags, but like at the price he is, which is at the moment it keeps changing. He's plus 190 at the moment. I mean, I haven't got odds yet. Hopefully get them tomorrow. But if he's anything above like 170, plus 170, plus 160, maybe even plus 150, I'll probably play him. There's just nothing to go off. I mean, as you say, Zaccaria has been off for 3 years. Maybe he's fucking juiced to the gills and comes in and wrestles Barbu for 3 rounds. But yeah, I think at these odds, it's a no-brainer.
I was just muted. Sorry, man. Yeah. I probably won't go. I won't go big. I mean, it's
Yeah, just
man,
on half the unit maybe.
he could be an animal. He could have some, a lot of improvement. But I don't even know where he trains. Do you know where he trains?
Yeah. No, I saw some stuff on his Instagram, but I don't. It's not. It's just some small gym in Italy.
Yeah, so you can't even expect huge improvements if you move to like 8K or something like that as an example. But we're on the same page there. Next fight, this one shouldn't take long, and if you take long, I'll just boot you. Jasmine Favero versus Ava Sow. Sorry.
What a fight! What a fight!
Amazing. I mean, what is there to say? I watched a lot of Jasmine Favero's amateur footage on YouTube because it's out there. She seems to have good throws, head and arm throws, typical female shit. Really good V-lock, which is like the armbar you get when you go for the scar hold. You go for the scar hold like Olenek, and then you pin their arm. You got 2 submissions with that, and she went for it in her Cage Warriors debut as well. But again, she seems competent. She's dropping down. She was a bit undersized in the Cage Warriors debut, and she finished that girl. And then the other side, you got Ava Sow. She got easily armbarred in her last fight. Her first fight is on the same channel, Soko Fighting Championship on YouTube. It's not, her name's not on there. You just have to go through the channel and find it if you want to find it. But I think you're wasting your time. She went to a split decision with an 0-3 girl, and I literally saw nothing that I liked. She just kept clinching for 3 rounds and occasionally threw something. She's just bad. She's bad low volume. She got ran through with someone with a ground game. Just nothing to talk about. The line is out of this world. You could play the finish if you had odds, but I don't have odds. So that's it for me.
Yeah, I don't think I'll get any props on this fight, but yeah. What is there to say? Favero is just going to maul this girl probably. Yeah. It's nothing. Like I do pros and cons for I try and write down pros and cons for each fighter, and I literally have nothing for this French girl. Like I just have bad takedown defense, terrible jiu-jitsu. That's it. So no pros. So yeah, I think you don't have to be very good to be value at plus 850, but she's not value at plus 850. So yeah. Pass.
There's a value on a lot of dogs, but sometimes they win 1 out of 10 times.
Yeah.
Not really value. All right. I'll let you break this one down. Next one is Juan Arastey versus Dario Bellandi. Same scenario. Bellandi, a lot of amateur fights. Seems to like to grapple. Lost to let me just see. The last guy he lost to in Cage Warriors, Will Curry, who's a really good fighter. He's had some good fights with Duncan, and ideally wants a takedown, wants to be on top. Most of his finishes are about ground and pound. And then the other side, Juan Arastey, he's a sambo guy, throws hard. He's beat what's his name? The only fight both of us could find is his debut in UAE Warriors, where he's beat O'Brien Chaban, who's an absolute animal. But other than that, I mean, he's a big favorite. Do you have any leans on this?
I mean, I taped it. Obviously, we taped all the fights before the lines came out, but I kind of felt that Arastey would be a semi-big favorite. I thought he looked pretty good in this UAE Warriors fight, and then I looked at Bellandi, whose only 2 pro wins are versus 0-2 opponents, but he does have a pretty extensive amateur record. He went 12-2 with one of those losses to Christian Leroy Duncan. I think he's the champ. Is he the champ in Cage Warriors? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. So, but I was looking at what's his face, Bellandi's Instagram, and I'm like, does this guy even train? I know you don't have to post photos of you training, but it's like this guy's just chilling, just there's like no photos of him training, and he looks fairly out of shape, and it's just like
I thought the same thing when I went to his
this Arastey guy, he looks pretty built. You can see that he's training. I liked his fight on UAE Warriors, as I said. I really would like to see his last fight, that round 3 finish. He got rear naked choke in round 3 versus a 3-0 guy. So it's annoying we can't find that fight, but I mean, I don't think it would change my opinion. I think Arastey is going to blast this dude out of the water. So, but yeah, he's was he now? Oh, he's minus 185, and he's not. It's not terrible, to be honest, but it's like there's so little tape to go off. It's, you know, if he loses, you're just going to feel like an idiot. But that is tempting. I thought he'd be more than that. He opened minus 350. Sorry, minus 325. That's what I thought. Yeah, and now he's minus 185. So who's betting Bellandi? Is my question. Maybe they're just hoping. He's the hometown guy, Bellandi, but yeah, I think Arastey is gonna probably win by any means.
Yep. I mean, a lot of money has come in overnight. And I taped it this morning thinking I'll probably see what I like to see, but it's hard to, maybe it's just because, I don't know, honestly. I can understand why he's the dog, because in the only fight I can find that's not his amateur tape, he just got wrestled left for 3 rounds by Will Curry, and that's exactly what Joanne is going to try to do. So it's, you know, common sense. You see it on tape, you see a weakness, you see a strength, and it's like, okay, that's part of least resistance. But then when I was going through his amateurs, he's literally, like you said, he's defeated everyone apart from Duncan, who's an animal. And Jamal Medvedevov sparked him with a combination that didn't look that hard at all. He put him out cold, and I was like, ooh, red flag. Yeah, he was out cold. And you don't really see that in those amateurs where they've got the shin pads and stuff. It's usually two not the greatest fighters, you know, they're usually young. Once they get to professional, then they're like, start to have some power. And then that Jamal Medvedevov is like 21-0. And he doesn't have a lot of that. So he's an absolute animal. And yeah, Bellandi also wants to grapple himself, but he just kept getting stuffed by Curry and reversed. I don't know. That was in 2020. So maybe they're just going by the fact that was 2 years ago now, almost just under 2 years, and there might be improvement. Maybe they've got tape on that last fight, and they can, you know, they can see what's going on, and maybe that he won't come the line. But also, if he was minus 300, then it was wide. So maybe that's why taking a sprinkle on the dog. But
I just don't think he's serious about MMA. Like, I know he obviously had a lot of amateur fights, so he must have been pretty serious. And that was only 4 years ago, 2018. When he had 6 amateur fights in 2018. So yeah, he was pretty frequent fighter back then. But just, you know, I don't want to put too much stock into the Instagram thing, but like,
it's hard to tell. Very hard to tell.
He just doesn't look like he's training. It's just bizarre.
Some people just don't put, like me, I train like 4 times a week, and I just got nothing on my Instagram about training whatsoever. Like, I don't bring my phone to training. I train, go home, and then I just put stupid photos on my Instagram of rubbish and stuff. So, and he's not like a UFC fighter, so it's not like he's really marketing himself.
No,
you know, he doesn't have any sponsors. He's probably just living his life, and he's like, I've got to fight soon. So, but who knows? It's just speculation. But let's move on.
What do you think of the line, though?
Well, I didn't know it came in that much. So. Potentially interested, but he's also 6'3". He's also 6'3" versus a 6 foot, so he's massive compared to Joanne. So maybe that's why. But who knows? Who knows? Let's move on. Too much time on a fight that we might not even play.
Yeah.
Next one, Emmanuel Sabatino versus Karol Michalak. Michalak, another guy that I've taped a lot before he got sparked in his Cage Warriors debut. Just doesn't look like the best guy, but he seems to be improving from fight to fight. And Emmanuel Sabatino seems to be a grappler, another Italian guy. Potentially seems like a setup fight to me. What are your opinions?
Yeah, so I taped Carroll Michalak first. Yeah, he seems like a kind of striker. He's got like a wide stance karate style on the feet, picks his shots well, punch to the body, hard leg kicks. But yeah, I think he might be quite chinny. I know he got hit with a nice uppercut that knocked him out in his last fight. But yeah, I think he there's a possibility he could be quite chinny. He doesn't really like getting hit. He like shells up. He does that shit. Just kind of hit like, I hate that. You just like leaving yourself open for like hooks and uppercuts and everything. He can be taken down. His defense is not good on the I've seen him taken down quite a few times, and he's a turtle off his back. He's got no submissions whatsoever. Sabatino, on the other hand, I thought he looked pretty good. He loves a suplex. I saw him suplex 2 guys. Which fight was it? I think I saw his pro loss versus Colangelo. I couldn't find like the full 15-minute decision, but I found like the highlights of it, and it showed quite a bit of the fight, and it looked like a back and forth, kind of a lot of takedowns, a lot of like pretty high-paced fight.
So 5 pass, man.
Well, the Venator one.
The whole fight. His last
Is
one.
it? Oh shit! I didn't know Venator was on Fight Pass.
I always just put every single name. I always put it on Fight Pass first, and then and then I do YouTube, and then I do Google, and then Google comes up with like Daily Motion videos and Facebook
Daily Motion
videos and stuff. So,
but yeah, the highlights I think showed the fight pretty well. I mean, it was razor close. I thought it could have gone either way. I think he's pretty good. He looks like he can mix it up, striking and wrestling and stuff. He can strike backwards, which is always good. He can be taken down himself though, but I don't think Michalak doesn't look like he's going to be putting on his wrestling shoes anytime soon. So yeah, I do favour Sabatino, but what is the line saying? -250. I mean, yeah, I'd say that's pretty accurate. He opened -325, looked the same as Arastey, and money's come in on Michalak. So I'd say that's fairly accurate. If you want to, if you were the type 2 parlay, Sabatino might not be too bad. But yeah, what do you think of the line? -250. Are you frozen?
I turned off my VPN, and then I didn't realize, because I was taping Bellator.
I thought you were thinking really hard about the line.
No, I just realized the fight that I'm taping I'm going to turn off as well because I was using VPN. That's fine. Yeah, I think this Carroll guy, I taped him very extensively for the James Sheehan fight. That was the fight that was the card that I cleaned out. That was the Duncan one, and that was the card that I fell in love with Cage Warriors. I'm like, oh man, making money in Cage Warriors is easy. They've got people like Carroll, and they're giving him Sheehan so he can just get knocked out in the first round. His tape was horrendous. Like every single fight's on there, and he wants to grapple, but his takedowns are bad, and he gets taken down himself. But he seems to win with just kind of some sort of grit. It's not amazing grit because he hates to get hit. Like you said, he shells up and he backs up. So he wants to grapple, and if he gets on top, he's kind of like rabies you with extensive ground and pound. But in his last couple, he seems a bit more. He seems to be improving. He fought that for Tato before Cage Warriors, and it was a lot more back control and mount, and just got a rear naked choke finish. Yes, he was a 0-0 guy, but it just seemed to be a bit more polished. And then against Sheehan in Cage Warriors, he was striking for a bit, and like, okay, he's not panicking on the feet anymore. He did panic when he got pressured, but he's showing me some improvement. You know, he's like 27, 26, kind of similar age as the Italian dude. So they're improving. They're both young guys. It's still a low-level fight. Emmanuel, like you said, Sabatino, he wants to grapple as well. He loves the suplex. Again, like you said, it does catch me as a bit of a decision machine. That counter that he landed on Michelangelo and dropped him, that was the best thing I've seen from him in terms of striking. But when he's bouncing around and switching stances, he seems a lot more comfortable in the feet. And unlike Carroll, who just shells up and doesn't know what to do when pressured, you know, we see Michelangelo counter and drop someone. A 7-2 fighter was quite good. And I also thought he probably should have won that fight because they probably gave him the fight because gave him the loss because he got held up against the cage a lot. But I mean, if you drop someone and land suplexes, that should be better than someone just constantly returning you to the cage with no damage and you constantly standing back up. But he's also green in my eyes, and it just seems like the more polished version of Carroll, but Carroll's also improving. And Carroll will go for constant takedowns, and it's going to be a decision potentially, and I just don't feel comfortable laying the juice on this low-level Italian guy. I don't know. It's just...
How much... I mean, it's impossible to say, but like, because obviously it's going to be in Italy, crowd are going to be screaming for the Italian fighters. So I just wonder if that will, influence the judges.
Probably, but it's not. I mean, it's not enough for me. It's not enough for me to lay the juice. I mean, I remember playing Zubaira versus Davudu because some people convinced me that Zubaira is not losing a decision in Abu Dhabi, and then he got lost the decision that I thought that he might as well. So it's just like, you can't bank on those things. I'm just $1.40. I'm just staying away from it. Pass.
The next fight.
Oh, even better. Speaking of passes, Brioni Tyrell versus Nicole Di Segni. I mean, what to say about this fight? Brioni Tyrell. I mean, when she fought Denise
Keelholtz,
she was 39, from what I remember on Bellator, watching that video. That was in 2019, so the girl is like 42 now. 42, 4-4. Back then, she was a full-time nurse. I don't know if she's still doing that. Probably, but she's not even a full-time professional MMA fighter. At least Di Segni is. Di Segni is not that good though. That's the problem. She has beaten some good fighters though. She has beaten what's her name? Mary Poppins, Corey McKenna by split, 2018. And she did bust her up. She pardon me. Brioni Tyrell does have a good back take. She did that to Denise in 2 rounds. But then again, we've seen that was one of the fights that gave me a massive red flag on playing Denise as a favorite over that Asian chick that submitted her in her last Bellator fight. So I was like, oh man, if Brioni can do this to you, you're going to get submitted by that Japanese girl. I think it was Watanabe. So it says more about Denise than Brioni personally. Can Brioni do that to Di Segni? Yes. But again, she's 4-4. You know, Di Segni's bad, but she's beaten girls that are 4-4. But she's also lost her last fight to Elizabeth Rodriguez by split, who's a 4-4 fighter in Aries. So it's just like, is there value? Probably value on Tyrell. But do you want to play a 42-year-old 4-4 that's lost every time she's taken a step up? But you know, when you look at it in a different way, her step ups have been, Molly McCann, Denise, Kate Jackson, who was 7-2. Kate Jackson was KOing people in Bellator at one point. And she's drawn with Lanchana Green and then got submitted by Lanchana Green in the first round. But Green was 1-2 then, but she was on the Ultimate Series, Ultimate Fighter Series as well. She made it pretty far and then lost to Miranda Cooper. So yeah, what is there to say? It's wouldn't surprise me if Di Segni lost. But I think I don't know. What do you cap her losing at? It's going to have to be a very close striking battle, a couple of back takes. Di Segni said it for herself. And the one thing is Tyrell is really, really She has really bad takedown defense, and the Segni will occasionally go for takedowns.
Mm-hmm.
And if she gets backpacked, I've seen a much more dangerous person in Corey McKenna backpack her, and she survived. It got up, stood up all 3 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, Mallory Martin took her down, and she kind of did all right standing up.
Yeah.
It's a dog or pass. I
Yeah.
can't fault anyone for passing though. It might be the smartest thing to do, but
this has got to be a pass, surely. Like minus 450 for Di Segni. I mean, that is a big number for a girl who's not very good. But then you look at her opponent, as you say, 42 years old, 3 years layoff. Striking is not good. She's one of those girls that closes her eyes when she has strikes thrown at her. I watched that Bellator fight against Kia Holtz, and I thought she did all right.
I thought she was 2-0 up going into the...
Yeah, she got a back take in round 1 and 2, and then obviously got submitted in the third. But or was it submission, or was it she got finished in the third?
She got ground and pounded.
Yeah, she got ground and pounded. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, the only way that Di Segni loses is if, a couple of back takes. But I think that, it's not outside the realms of possibility. So you definitely cannot play Di Segni minus 450. I mean, Di Segni is obviously much better on the feet, probably better in most areas, to be honest. But I thought she did all right against some of her opponents. Mallory Martin, she was doing all right on the feet, throwing a lot of volume. But then, that last fight was a very strange fight against this 4-4 Rodriguez girl. She just didn't do anything. She just, for some reason, even though Rodriguez was 5 foot tall, she just couldn't hit her. It was just bizarre. She looked completely different to all the rest of her fights, where she's throwing out volume for 3 rounds. As you say, she beat Corey McKenna by split. She was took Corey McKenna's O. I mean, Mikel Di Segni, she's she's going to be fighting in front of an Italian crowd. Every time she lands, she's going to get a massive cheer. Yeah, I can't see her losing, to be honest, but at the same time, no way I'm playing minus 450.
Yeah, makes sense. We agree.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move on. Okay, I'll break this one as well. This is probably, in terms of quality and entertainment, probably not quality. I take that back. But in terms of entertainment, it's probably going to be the best fight on the card.
Yeah.
Carlos Pedersoli, we all remember him from the UFC. You should if you're not a casual, but very well-rounded guy actually. He's a southpaw. He got decent power, got that in and out karate style. Good wrestling actually, very serviceable wrestling. Decent jiu-jitsu. He's not even 30 years of age, so could potentially still be in his prime. He's just well-rounded everywhere. He's got some nice submissions as well. Jiu-jitsu seems to hold up. The only problem with him is he's just, I don't know if it's IQ, because when he did beat Bradley Scott in the UFC, he fought well. He mixed in takedowns to win rounds 2 and 3. He went to a split, and he was pretty annoyed about the split. But it's just the way he fights, the way he fights. In and out with his hands though. And the other thing is, he's incredibly chinny, and he's incredibly. He doesn't think about defense whatsoever. That seems to be the last thing on his mind. Right. So maybe you can say it is the IQ. I think it's just a mixture of wanting to always be in exciting fights. Because he does well. He does well. He's like the Nicolas Dalby fight. He beat him in Cage Warriors before he made it to the UFC, and that was just the war. That was just a scrap, and he just kept taking Dalby down. He hurt him with a head kick. But when he had good positions on the ground, he just kept going. He went for a calf slicer, and he does this stupid shit where he loses position, and then he made that fight a split decision. Right against Bradley Scott. Brad Scott is horrendous. He's just like a Walmart Forrest Griffin look-alike. And it's just Bradley Scott will give you a low output striking battle, and Carlos Pedersoli with his speed and his much better striking acumen. He should have outpointed him, but he got dropped twice in the first round by Bradley Scott of all people, because he throws flying knees and spinning wheel kicks with like his hands low. And he got dropped twice and gave that round up, and then he just mixed in some wrestling in rounds 2 and 3 to win the fight. So I was like, okay, decent guy. And then he just got sparked by Oliveira with got his kick caught, sparked instantly.
Yeah.
He was doing okay against Grant, but just coming into the pocket, doing stupid stuff, throwing a naked body kick, and just got countered massively. So like I say, it's not just being chinny, it's just zero awareness for defense. You don't come into the pocket with your hands by your knees and throw a naked body kick against Grant. And then obviously I couldn't find the last 2 fights, which were absolute cans. Antonelli, Safarov 26 and 38, and a 2 and 3 guy, which you finished both of them, right? You're going to do that when you fight people that are low level. But his Bellator fight, Bellator signed him right after the UFC. They made a big deal about it. And then he lost to Koiden Dukue, and they just cut him straight away after that. So not as good as we thought. And he just kept getting dropped so many times in that fight. He was doing okay, and then as soon as he got dropped, it was just like something in his head said, "Let's go. I'm ready to have a war, and I don't care if I win or lose this fight." So that's how he fights to me. I couldn't get a read on him early, but now I take about 5 of his fights. I don't even have to see his last 2 fights against other level opponents. So on the other side, Madras Fleminas. This guy is a really good underdog. He beat Oban Elliott and Jesse O'Hallen, like 2 good grapplers. Jesse was undefeated. Elliott was 4-1, had heaps of hype on him. It was a massive underdog against both. I kind of regret passing on him against Elliott, but it's just watching his fights with Jack Grant and Figlak. It kind of seems like he seemed a bit flaky to me, and like he gives up easy submissions. But if you watch more of his tape, he kind of just seems like they were the outliers, right? That Jack Grant, very good submission fighter, and so is Figlak. He beat George Hardwick in 2019. Hardwick wasn't on short notice there, and he did gas out quite a bit. So he's just the perfect dog. He'll fight for your money. The main note on him is active in all areas, right? Active on the feet. Every time he exits the clinch, throws an elbow, throws a knee. When he's on the ground, constantly throwing ground and pound. So someone like Carlos Pedersoli that, just has his hands low and just occasionally throws kicks and counter left hooks, he's just going to get out-volumed. Like they're scrambling and he's going for calf slices, extreme example. Fleminas is going to be throwing ground and pound, pitter-patter shots. And that's how he's knocked out Elliott as well, just with pitter-patter shots. So I honestly thought Fleminas was going to be a favorite, open up a favorite. Was shocked when he opened up as a dog last night. But then I also knew that when I woke up this morning, he was going to be a favorite, which he is. So at the moment, it's a pass. I've seen some people say if the line keeps getting crazy, you might have to play Pedersoli. I'm not against that because, I guess value. Fleminas is more of a dog play. But then again, I was so set on fading Pedersoli from tape that I don't know if I could mentally do it. So I think the line is accurate. What are your reads?
Yeah, I think I might be in that camp of, if it gets wider, I might have to play Pedersoli. I don't think he's that bad. Like, as you say, his chin, or not necessarily his chin. Well, his chin is not great, but it's more his like constantly throwing like naked leg kicks or naked high kicks and just getting countered and dropped and I think obviously Fleminas when he opened plus 120, was he? Yeah, plus 120. That was probably a good play. I messaged you, I said whoever the dog is in Pedersoli Fleminas fight is probably a good play. And obviously Fleminas was quickly back down to a minus 150 favorite, which is where he sits now. He's well rounded, as you say, but he's like his style on the feet is weird. It's like janky. It's like he doesn't, it's just like it's a bizarre striking style, but he makes it work. Obviously, he knocked out that grappler. Last fight, which was I think he was a big underdog there, but no, I feel like Fleminas might be one of these guys that like comes through as an underdog and loses as a favourite. You know them guys. But obviously that's just all speculation. But yeah, I think if the line gets to, what would I need to play Pedersoli? I mean, I'd definitely play him at plus 150, but I don't know if it gets there. Maybe it does. We've still got 2 days, 2.5 days. Yeah, I wouldn't play Fleminas at minus 150. If I had him at plus 120, I probably would play that. But yeah, it's all down to the number. I think it's a pretty close fight. Pedersoli at home in Italy. Yeah, I don't think he's terrible. I think that fight he had in Bellator was fairly close, apart from the knockdowns and stuff. Yeah, I think we'll see what the line does. It's all dependent on the line.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to fight. Tough to play a guy that has no regards for winning fights. That's what I got from Tate. He just doesn't want to win a fight. He wants to have a brawl. And if you're speculating whether his chin is good or not, he got rocked in the Dalby, the Scott, the Oliveira, the Grant, and the Duque fight. So these last fights that I can find on tape. So
yeah.
Maybe 6, 7. Maybe it's all of them before that. But I didn't need to watch 18 of his fights. But
no.
So it's literally every single fight, and some Duque was looking like John Lineker against him. So I think Fleminas has some underrated power as well. So I guess my hands could be forced, but not really. I reckon I'm passing no matter what. All right. I'll let you break down these last two first, but we got Morgan Charriere versus Albert Diaz. This is a setup fight, in my opinion. Morgan has just come off 2 title fights where he's done really good against really good fighters, and Albert Diaz fights every couple of years, and he barely beat Richie Smullen on Bellator. I don't even know if he did. So take it away, sir.
Yeah, I reckon you could have easily given that to Richie Smullen, and that was a terrible fight. Albert Diaz.
What a weird name.
Yeah, it's a weird name. 5-3 Brazilian guy. Seems like an okay striker. He's got good like first layer takedown defense I saw in some of his fights. But I think Morgan sometimes goes for takedowns, but he's more of a kind of like he likes to strike, doesn't he? But yeah, he's just not very good, this Diaz guy. He's a turtle on his back, doesn't have any subs. I mean, almost losing to Richie Smullen isn't a good look anyway, and I think he probably did lose to him, but obviously they gave it to Diaz. He gets reversed a lot, loses position, doesn't really have big power. I mean, who has he beat? Obviously Richie Smullen. He lost to Jose Sanchez. But yeah, I mean, his last win before Richie Smullen was 2017. It was 5 years ago against a 6-3 fighter. He's just not very good. I thought, maybe they'll be, because I knew Morgan would be a massive favourite because he's pretty good. But I thought there might be some value on Diaz, but taping him, he's just rubbish. Morgan is better everywhere. Much better striker, more power. He's fought much better level of competition. He's tough as shit. He's lost, he's 15-9. So he's lost 9 fights. But if you look at who he's losing to, Paul Hughes, Jordan Vucenic, Soren Bak, like these are all good fighters. Saladin Parnasse. These are all really good fighters. And then he's got 3 wins in Cage Warriors. But what is he at now? He is minus 700. I mean, he probably deserves to be that big of a favourite, to be honest. I don't really know how Diaz wins this fight. Morgan's better everywhere. The only thing is that Morgan loves a split decision. He's been to split decision many times, but as I say, against good competition, whereas Diaz is barely getting past Richie Smullen. So, yeah, that's it. No play on money line. Obviously, we're not getting any props. So, well, I don't think we'll get props, but maybe we will. Yeah, Charriere by however he wants.
Yep. Nothing more to add. Don't want to waste too much time on it. It's just the guy's a kickboxer, and Morgan's a better kickboxer. And his big hole is grappling, and Morgan can also grapple. So just squash match. Honestly, the line could be wider probably.
Yeah.
Considering the Segni is $1.22. Morgan probably should be. He is better favorite than that, but it could be wider. Yeah. Okay. Main event. Very good fight. High level fight. Two strikers. They can both grapple as well. Title fight. I'm excited about this one. Dominic Wooding versus Michel Martignoni. Take it away, sir.
Yeah, great fight. I like Dominic Wooding. He's my guy. Been watching him for ages and ages in Cage Warriors, and obviously he had a few fights in Bellator. Yeah, really clean striker. Really nice to watch. Accurate. Picks his shots well. Doesn't overextend. Doesn't waste any energy. Although he still gets tired. Yeah, I like his striking is very good. He does mix in takedowns as well. But yeah, it's tricky because I do like Dominic Wooding, and he is the favourite. Probably deserves to be the favourite. But when I tape this Martignoni guy, he's not that bad. He is not that bad. I thought he's pretty tough. He got dropped a few times by who did he fight? The Meyer guy in Wesley Meyer in Cage Warriors. But yeah, he's mainly a striker, but he does mix in takedowns as well. He has pretty good takedown defense, so I think he should be able to stuff. I don't think there'll be many takedowns in this fight. I think they can probably stuff each other's shots. But yeah, he's got good combinations on the feet. That's another thing. That's a big advantage I think he has, as he throws in combination, whereas Wooding is more of a kind of single, like one or two shots. So I think that Martignoni could kind of steal rounds with big flurries. Obviously, the power goes to Wooding. You know, he's finished his last 3 fights, and 2 of those came from flying knees. But I think he might, maybe he starts favouring the flying knee, and believes he can knock anyone out with a flying knee and gets taken down. But I think Martignoni is pretty good, actually. I wouldn't say I'm really impressed with him, but I do think he has a good chance of winning this fight. And at the moment, he is where is he? He's a plus 155. I don't think I'll get that when I get the odds. But I think, to be honest, I really like Wooding. But as an underdog, I'll probably put a little bit on Martignoni. I think he can just mix it up. He's got really good cardio, can fight at a high pace. Wooding slowed down quite a bit against Diata, and I feel like that could be a similar fight. He started well, and then Diata just kind of played a similar game plan to what Martignoni does. Martignoni's at home in Italy. It's a main event. They're going to be cheering for him. Could influence the judges. Obviously, all speculation, but I don't know. I think the line could be a little bit closer. So I think there's value on the Italian. What do you think?
Yeah. I was it's the first fight I taped. I didn't go in depth because I was like, this is going to be $1.30 favorite next. I don't want to waste my time on a juiced line, and then it's exactly what it opened up at. And then this morning is minus 200. So money's coming in on Martignoni. So it was like, okay. So then I looked into him again, and I retaped the. Obviously, I played Wooding against Arastey and lost money there, and I like what I see. I like, he's just a very composed, smooth striker, and he's got power, and he doesn't rush things. But that's one of his weaknesses as well. He can be a bit lackadaisical sometimes, and it's losing to Diata, who was 6-0 at the time, and then had a good fight with Barton as well. It's not the worst thing in the world, but before that, he also lost to Franz Mayambo in 2019 in Bellator, and Mayambo dropped him in the first round, hit him clean, and then dropped him again just because he came in with his hands completely low. And then old mate Wooding just resorted to more of a grappling-centric game plan. I thought he did okay in rounds 2 and 3, but the fact that he didn't do anything, he just kind of cage pushed, lost in the fight because Mayambo was throwing more.
Yeah.
And same as Diata. Diata's kind of seemed more physical, stronger than him, more output, a lot more movement. And it was just, dropped him with a leg kick at the start and seemed to be doing well. And then to settle in that low output striking fight where Diata just out hustled him. He went for a couple of takedowns, got stopped. I think both guys can go for takedowns.
Yeah.
The fight you referenced with Michel, where he fought Wesley Meyer, he got dropped in that fight early, and then he just again used his grappling round 2 and 3 to win. I think both guys can go for takedowns. I've seen Wooding take down people in multiple fights, but it's just they both prefer to strike. It's just like and both can be taken down. Like we've seen Michel lose to Nathan Fletcher, kept getting taken down. In round 3, he got submitted, and if you don't play MMA maths, Wooding knocked out Fletcher late, but then again, he was definitely losing that fight up until that point. It was a 5-round fight, so I guess he had all the time in the world to be patient and wait for his shot. So as soon as he heard him, he just put him out. So Dominic Wooding definitely has the power advantage. I think he's always dangerous. I know the commentators constantly say Michel's got power in his hands. Obviously, he's got a couple of knockouts before Cage Warriors, but literally 1, 2, 3, 4. I haven't seen any of that power in his next 4 fights. So I guess sometimes they just say that because that's what they see on the regionals. But I definitely think the Wooding has the explosive and the one-punch KO power. But I agree, it's just like, I can't play him because it's a 5-rounder. He's probably going to come out slow. He says he doesn't rush his knockouts anymore, which to me just tells me he's going to be the exact same old patient person. And then that could, again, if he doesn't have big moments where he drops Martignoni, could bite him in the ass. Martignoni just, if you look, what's interesting about Martignoni, he doesn't seem, he's very unassuming. He doesn't, again, he's not dropping people or anything. He's doing what he needs to do. But if you look at his career, he was a moderate underdog he's a plus 340 underdog against Wesley Meyer. He won unanimous. Massive underdog. Yeah. He was less of an underdog against Fletcher. Obviously lost there. Only a slight favorite against Adam Amasinga. I thought he was doing okay there until he got poked. Yeah. And again, up to plus 225 against Scott Malone. So obviously, just the in and out and striking. He doesn't put many stamps on fights. He's just got a decent amount of volume. Not many KOs in Cage Warriors. Goes to decisions. So he's obviously unassuming, and the bookies are always giving him underdog odds, and they're doing the same thing here again. Yeah. Wooding coming off 3 KOs in a row. He's looking much better, but you only have to go a couple of years back into his Bellator career to see that he can also be very underwhelming, especially when the fight goes long. So if he doesn't knock out Michel, or even if he drops him, we've seen Michel drop, then come back and rally and win hardcore decisions. Yes, Michel's never gone 5 rounds, but neither has, Wooding. He's been scheduled for 5 rounds, but he hasn't gone. So it's, I guess it has to be a dog or pass. I agree with you. At first, I thought it was going to be, I thought the line was going to be juiced. I wasn't really agreeing with it, but I always try, rather than cap it myself, I try guess what the bookies are going to cap it at. It's for my own interest, for when I'm taping. So I don't know if I agree with the line, but now it's dog or pass, like you said. It's a 5-rounder. Martignoni has shown me the heart, the grit. As long as he doesn't get knocked out. But Wooding does look like he cracks, man. Some of these people, Fletcher never been knocked out. Hardy, Abreu, and those losses were 2 years ago in Bellator, and now he is 26. So who knows? Maybe he's improving. Maybe he's maturing. Maybe his cardio is better. He didn't look too tired against Fletcher, and that was a very grapple heavy fight.
Yeah, he looked alright there.
So that's the thing. It's it's definitely dog a pass. Definitely dog. If I had I was gonna say if I had props, I would play Wooding, but no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't play Wooding by KO because I could see this going to the decision.
Yeah,
maybe dropping Martignoni but not finishing him. So
yeah,
it's dog a pass,
Yeah.
man. I'll wait till it opens up in Australia, and then I'll decide if I'm going to play it or not.
yeah. As I say, it is line dependent on what I can get for Martignoni. I mean, he opened plus 215. That would have been nice. But obviously, we are not fortunate to live in the United States, so we have to wait like champs. So hopefully tomorrow. Let me check I've got one book that seems to open them like fairly early. Let me just double check. But plus 155 would definitely get a bet out of me. Are you interested in playing Martignoni, or are you just like seeing what happens with the line, seeing what you can get?
I am, but I had to go into extensive tape again. This was, like I said, this was the first fight I taped on Monday, or even Sunday, and I was a bit cooked from. I was just had a big weekend. I'm still recovering, and then I watched UFC, and I just died at home. And then I was like, oh, let's watch some Cage Warriors, get a head start on Sunday, and then I just nothing really registered. I was like, oh, Wooding's going to be favorite. I watched 3 fights of Michelle, and I was like, oh, another striker. This is going to be juiced. So I just moved on to another fight, and then I retaped Wooding this morning, his Bellator fights. And same time running the Michelle fight in the background. I was like, okay, yep, this is a potential play. Usually, when I listen to other podcasts, I hate when people give like tidbits and educate people on how to gamble and stuff. But I was thinking about this in the car, so I'll educate people now. I'll do the thing that I hate. When you initially tape a fight, I've decided I might write a blog post one day about this. You initially tape a fight, and you think it's going to go this way. And then you set on it, and then 3 days later, maybe if you tape again, I know you don't tape again because you trust your lead, but I've started doing that recently because sometimes I'm in a better state of mind the second time around. And when 3-4 days later, you look into it again, or you tape it again, or you just have like an epiphany, and then you start seeing an alternative way the fight can go. That's a play for me. So Holy Home was a big example, and I've been getting it a lot recently. Oh yeah, just like everyone was having like 4 units on Home and minus 200. Oh, better cardio. Caitlin Vieira's chinny. She's gonna get held up against the cage. It's a 5-rounder. And I thought the same thing. And I was about to lay the units, and then I was like, Holly Holm hasn't fought in 2 years. She's had a knee injury. What if Vieira takes her down a couple times, even though Holm has a really good defense? And then I saw that when Shevchenko took Holm down a few times years and years ago, Holm sucked off her back. I was like, what if? And then I ended up playing Vieira. So it's like, you get that first lead, Wooding's going to dominate him. He's a lot better striker. He might knock him out. And then you go, 4 days later, or you retape, it's like, what if it ends up being a lower output striking battle? And Michelle is the lot more active fighter, and he doesn't get dropped, doesn't get knocked out. Then you're like, you know what? That's a play for me. It's just, you kind of have like a second coming of thoughts.
That's exactly what happened with this fight, to be honest. I taped Wooding because I got a bit of bias. He's another UK fighter. He's the champ. I was thinking I might play Wooding. Obviously didn't know the line, but I was like, striker versus striker, Wooding's the better striker. And then the more I watched of and then the next day, the more I watched of the Italian Martignoni, the guy just doesn't stop. He just doesn't stop. And obviously, when you think about it, Wooding throws hard. He's got power, but he only throws one shot, or he'll throw like a big flying knee. If they don't land, he's going to get out hustled. So, to be honest, I think Martignoni is going to win a decision. I wouldn't say I'm confident because it's still fairly low level, but I think both guys are pretty good, and I think there's value on the Italian.
Yeah. Sure. So I do apologize to listeners doing my little tidbit there, because like I said, I I do hate when I'm listening to a podcast and then they stop everything to tell me what value betting is
Educate you.
or what bankroll management is. I'm like, come on, man. Like, I get it that you got some people listening that don't know what that is, but it's like, I'm listening for your picks. I'm not for your breakdowns. Not because you're telling me what basic bankroll management is, but hopefully what I just told you guys, I feel like it's a bit more advanced. You know, that feeling. You know, you think the fight's going to go that way, but MMA is not that linear. There's 3, 4. It's what I call the second layer of tape. You know, don't just assume Holly Holm is going to outstrike her for 5 rounds. There's so many more avenues that MMA can go in. Don't just assume Holly Holm has better cardio, etc., etc.
I can see that in a chapter. I can see that in a chapter of your book, the second
100%.
layer of tape.
100%, dude. I just literally thought about it in the car going home. I can't remember what fight it was. I bet on someone on Sunday, the Jan Dern fight, and I was like, man, these epiphanies, the second thoughts, they're money. It's just like you realize, yeah. It's probably because you go in deeper. The second time around, you go in deeper, and you. Whereas the first time, you think what everyone else is thinking. All of Twitter's thinking. All of Twitter's thinking the most obvious thing, and then when you get an actual outcome that is believable, you go, it's because you've done the work to find if it's plausible or not. So
scratch below the surface.
Exactly, that's it. There's many book names there. I'm going to address this comment. The man said this an hour ago. I usually address him straight away. My bad, Pillow Fist Brits. Which Aussie bookies have these odds? So last Cage Warriors, where I gave everyone Trey Williams, PointsBet opened up first. So PointsBet I use. I think America has PointsBet as well. They've got Shaq and stuff doing commercials for PointsBet. So I started using them when I got limited, and now they've become one of my favorites in terms of props. And then Bet365 is going to open it up, no doubt. They were a little bit after PointsBet for me. So keep an eye out for PointsBet. They'll be the first ones, and that's probably the only 2 in Australia. But other than that, that's it, man. I guess we could still do a best bet. Let's do a best bet. I'll go first. Personally, again, I haven't made any bets because I can't with no lines. No. But I can 100% give you a best bet and my second best bet. So it's going to be, at this time, I'm definitely if I'm making plays, it's definitely going to be Bogdan Barbu as a dog against Emmanuel Zaccaria. Perfectly aware that he might get grappled or submitted. But, just a lot of things going in is, again, we can use that example. Getting a grapple taken down and submitted is the first layer of thought. Yeah. But I can easily see outstriking Zaccaria, sticking and removing, getting his own takedown, surviving like he did for the majority of the round against dudes in his Cage Warrior debut, or even knocking him out, right? And then the second one is Michel Martignoni. And honestly, maybe Martignoni might be more favorite, to be honest, because I think there's more of a chance that Barbu gets submitted than Martignoni getting knocked out. So that just gives me the answer that I want, Yeah. I've never seen him knocked out. I've seen him dropped, but it was like a stun. It was like a flash knockdown. It wasn't like he was out cold. It wasn't. He just got caught and then instantly got up and then started using his wrestling. So that's it for me. Those are two favorite bets for Cage Warriors.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to be boring and agree, to be honest. I mean, it's slim pickings on this card, to be honest. But Bogdan as a dog, decent dog as well. For sure, we'll be getting half a unit at least. And then, my favourite bet is definitely Martignoni in the main event. And then we'll see what happens with the Fleminas Pedersoli fight. I might just pass altogether. It's never a good idea to play super chinny fighters, but then again, it depends on the odds. So we'll see what happens in the next 2.5 days. I think, most of the favourites are just going to roll.
Usual in Cage Warriors.
Like usual, yeah. I mean, Arastey, I feel like he's just a little bit too. He's closer than I thought he'd be in terms of the line. If he was like minus 160, I'd be tempted. But obviously, there's a lot of guessing and a lot of presuming that he's going to come in and just dust Bellandi. But I do feel like that's going to happen. yeah, he's minus 185, so it's a bit wide, but only by a tad. But yeah, definitely Barbu will be a play for me, just as long as the line stays relatively where it is, and then give me Martignoni in the main event.
Cool. We're on the same page. Let's hope it's better than
the
Contender Series.
It will be.
Like me and usually the best bet part, it just aces it. When I have a guest on, me and Scrap, or last week I did Bellator and did the under and the Gibson. The best bet. If it's my best bet on the whole card, it usually hits. The other bets maybe don't hit if I got 5 or 6, but let's hope for some good juju, mate. This Contender Series is just traps, right, for value boys like us. Yeah, they've got massive dogs that have a chance, and then they just don't end up having a chance. Whereas I do think, Michelle and the other guy has a chance
for sure.
But yeah, I'll leave it at that. It's 1 over an hour. I really thought it was going to be quick. Sorry, man.
It's all right. It's all good.
You're meant to be sleeping. Other than that, I'll bring Scrap on for UFC. We're going to try to do it early next week. We've got some news, some affiliate news for the podcast. Ooh, didn't expect to have it so early, but man, if you want to come back next week for some KSW or something, it's up to you. But I'm definitely going to be doing a KSW podcast. I've gotten ahead with the UFC, which gives me a lot of time to tape KSW for next week. So it's up to you. You let me know. I'll let you know.
For sure.
Nice and easy. Other than that, good luck everyone with your bets, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.